I have a hunch that until I get this all really working like a well-oiled machine, they'll all start out with me clearing my throat. But anyhow, there'll be some coffee drinking, because much like the Jerry Seinfeld comedians in cars drinking coffee, I do like coffee. And in the course of my life, I have chosen to give up a great many things that are not good for me, that at one point gave me some level of joy and then stopped. Things like nicotine, alcohol, marijuana, mostly marijuana, and, some other drugs I dabbled in but never took too seriously. But I tried a bunch of them and realized that there was a couple that I liked that I probably should stay away from, but pot's really the one that I spent some time with. Alcohol, pot, nicotine, caffeine. Caffeine's pretty much the last one. Caffeine, sugar. Those are tough ones. So here I am streaming to no one, but in order to stream to someone, you have to tell someone, and that's another step I haven't taken yet. So maybe eventually, when I feel like this is worth watching. But anyways, more than anything, it's just me self-imposed therapy, I guess, and doing stuff, creating content, getting things out of my head. So today, I try not to think too hard about what I'm going to do as I get further down the road doing this. Hopefully I do this for a long time. This is really only a couple weeks of doing this. It took me several years of and a bunch of false starts to try to figure out how to create a stream. And in the intervening years, it got easier, and people do it in different ways, and kids have this channel and podcasts and blah blah blah. So at this point in my life, when I'm struggling with something, I think, well, how would I tell one of my kids to do it? And I will back up a little bit. I am also a lifelong fan of talk radio. So there are things that I'm going to try to employ that I've learned by listening to talk radio since I was, again, 10, 15 years old, 10, 12, 13, 15. Is that you sort of repeat the basics, even though to me it feels like I've said this a million times. If somebody is just joining us, and this is the first video you see, well, you start to find information, and maybe if I'm lucky, in the future there's 200 of these videos, and somebody's digging back and looking at early ones or whatever, or this is the first one somebody finds or whatever. So, enough of the explaining. My name is Michael Marsden. My friends call me Mike. I created a project called MeL Muzic, MeL Muzic. I created that 25 years ago as an outlet for my original music. I played in bands. I've been writing songs since I was 14. I was always part of a group of other people. I had a couple of songs that were mine, a couple of songs that were theirs, so on and so forth. Cover bands, all kinds of different things. But music has been the center of my brain since I was, I don't know, again, those middle school years where you start to formulate who you are. Music was at the center of that for me. And the reason I point that out is my youngest child is 13 and in 8th grade, and I'm watching my 6th child go through those years where you figure out who you are and the person you want to be, and you start to choose your identity, and parts of it are chosen for you, but a lot of it you choose yourself. And so in those early years, music was a big part of it. And so I write songs, and I've been writing songs since I was a kid. So that's the backstory on the most basic level. On and off, I have lived a bit of a struggle and worked very hard. Been married and divorced, have kids from my first marriage that are older, and then I remarried a wonderful woman, and together we have my youngest, Jack, who is 13, and I have grandchildren, and blah, blah, blah. Backstory, right? Okay. So I started this channel because I struggle. I am going through mental health crisis in the last year or two. It's not the first time I've had a mental health crisis, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But this time it's been particularly deep and particularly hard because there are a number of factors that are different. Right now, I'm trying to play songs that have written over the course of 20 or 30 years that don't exist in the world. And yet the irony is, if you look around, I've spent my life building a recording studio. Isn't that ironic? It is. Someone should write a song. Anyways. In a relentless pursuit of perfection, I never seem to complete anything. This is something I'm working on. So, this channel and these streams, even though I'm streaming to no one, are because there's no editing. Just is what it is. So we're going to do a couple of old originals, and then for a couple of weeks I think I'm going to do a bunch of covers, things that I like playing. Now there is, in the coming weeks, I have a show coming up, and we are, I have a group of friends who are wonderful friends and help me to put on this year some live performances that feature some of my original songs, old and new. It's about 25-30% original music, and then a bunch of covers that are a little less common, a lot less common than what the rest of it's not the kind of stuff that you're hearing from other bands out there for the most part. There's a few things, but for the most part, it's pretty uncommon choices. Because everybody has families and lives, it's difficult to get together and rehearse, and we're struggling to put together some of the sets. So some of the guys suggested an old original, this song called Someone I Used to Know. Somebody else suggested oh, that's a bummer. It is streaming, so we're going to keep going, but I had a battery die. So it suddenly got much shallower. Anyhow, and if there was one close, I would just change it, but I would have to leave the room, and that's not going to happen. So, yep, nope. I don't see one. Bummer. Anyways, we might try to do this, though. Here, we're going to mute this while I talk. One of the songs we're going to play this coming weekend is an old original song that is about, it was written in 1989, and I'm simultaneously telling a story and trying to reset a guitar level while let's see what happens if I do this. So in 1989, I was 20 years old, and I lived in this house after living in apartments and living in a car and not really living in a car, but being kicked out of an apartment and living in my friend's family's house, and that's better. But having these beginning, there's like a late 80s young person sort of rediscovery of some hippie elements from the 60s, and that was kind of my generation. As we moved into the beginning of the 90s, that sort of rediscovery of the hippie element to some degree, and then the corresponding backlash to that, because with every movement there's a backlash, as we see through history. But in 1989, I saw Tom Petty play at a outdoor music theater that doesn't exist anymore in the Chicago area, in the Chicago suburbs, and I believe, I may be mistaken, but I believe it was the same show where it was Tom Petty and the Replacements. Weird Bill, but I'd have to look it up. But anyhow, Tom Petty spent a reasonable amount of time introducing a song that he played, talking about the environment and the future and global warming, but he didn't call it global warming then. He was talking about acid rain in California and what it was doing and how it was affecting things. And there's a whole bunch of people not paying attention. Recycling didn't even exist in garbage pickup yet. If you wanted to recycle aluminum cans, you had to collect them yourself and take them someplace. If you wanted to recycle glass or paper, you had to physically load it in your car and take it somewhere. And what he talked about struck me to the point where I started doing that. I'm not great at that stuff to this day, but I think it's important. I get stuck somewhere between wanting us as a society and a human race to do better at that, and then getting frustrated that the majority of us want to do better, and there's a greed entity that doesn't allow us to, no matter how hard the majority tries. The greed element causes, it does more destruction in 5 minutes than the collective element can do in 5 years. So sometimes that's discouraging. And so, on the good days, the good mental health days, you go, nope, you keep fighting. And on the bad mental health days, you go, what is the point, right? So we try to keep going. So the good mental health days and the bad mental health days, right? So this song I wrote before I had children, before I had 6 children. I had no children. I was a single guy living in a basement that I rented with, in a house that I rented with my mother and my sister, because I never lived in a house as a kid, and all I wanted was space to make enough noise to play music. So I'm going to play this song that I wrote after seeing Tom Petty talk about the environment and Mother Earth, and how, if we don't do something, it's going to be too late. So this is what I came up with at 20 years old. So, and you'll have to excuse, I have a little bit of a sore throat today, so. Playing the wrong song. I'm playing a different original. Sorry about that. What do we do when the sky is no longer blue? Where will we go when the water does no longer flow? It's getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late to change our fate. What does the future hold for us, my friends? What does the future hold for us? What do I tell my children when they say they want to go outside and play in the acid rain? What do I say? They want to play. I say you can't go out and play. What does the future hold for us, my friend? What does the future hold for us? In a world where no one gives a damn about anybody, what does the future hold for us? What does the future hold for us, my friends? What does the future hold for us? In a world where no one gives a damn about anybody, what does the future hold for us? So sorry about the false start. And the rambling. Too much rambling. Hopefully in future streams I get better at staying on topic. Anyway, it's getting late. We better flood oxygen, water, kind of I don't know. We live in a what do they call it? A biosphere, right? We better figure it out, man. I sure hope we do. For the grandkids and the great grandkids in the future, I hope we figure it out. Anyways, have a nice day.